introduce myself. For those of you that were here last week, some of this might seem a little redundant, but because we're not trying to squeeze 3 hours worth of material into an hour and a half, we get to go deeper. So I spent 15 years writing the exact same book, and it now sits in a file cabinet and will probably never see the light of day. What I could have done during those 15 years is one of my biggest regrets as a writer. If you figure if I just wrote a book every 5 years, that's still 3 books that I could have had done. So that was the impetus for figuring out how to make a time frame that would let me complete a new book. And I failed at NaNoWriMo because 4 weeks is just too short. I mean, that's insane. 50K in 4 weeks is over 10, well, you can do the math, it's over 10K a week. Okay, look at the numbers we're running. And I felt horrible when I had not made it. And my husband went, well, it's only December 1st, and you got halfway there, 25K. Why can't you just do another month of it and do another 25K? And I went, oh, you're a genius. That's why I love you. And he gave me permission because I put a whole bunch of stuff on hold during the mad dash of National Novel Writing Month. And I postponed them again until January. I focused in and I just kept going. And I went, this is doable. And so in that, I decided to share this with other people and started teaching this class. And since I started doing that, I have completed 4 books. One of them is made it through the slush pile cut of Baen Books, and it's down to me and one other person for the month slot. Can you say needles? But I landed an agent out of it because I wanted, if they came through with an offer, I wanted somebody to represent me, and I've met and been rejected by many an agent. So I came to one I really liked and said, hey, if they say yes, would you? And he's like, oh no, I'll just say yes. And I went, oh. And he goes, where's that other book? I'm like, what other book? He's like, no, I remember you in your hat from the convention. You pitched me a nuclear apocalypse novel. That is not this book. And I'm like, yeah, after getting it edited, I have to rewrite the whole thing. He's like, okay, so when are you getting it to me? And I said, well, luckily, I'm doing write a book in 9 weeks. And I'm using my class to do my final draft. He's also, I'll see it in November or December. And I said, no, you'll see it January 1st. And he's like, okay, make sure you get it to me the beginning of January. So, and yes, if you heard in there me say my editor in feedback, I am a freelance editor, but only a fool of a doctor operates on himself. So even though I'm a freelance editor, I don't edit my own work. So we will be doing a lot of writing in class so that you get some of this word count actually in class. And partly where I learned about needing to do, actually to do. I'm the leader of the director for the breakout critique groups with Gold Country Writers. And I hope I left flyers over there on the table for Gold Country Writers. At some point, we should make sure everybody has one. Gold Country Writers is a phenomenal, I call it a support group for writers. They meet every Wednesday from 10 till noon. And it is the second and fourth Wednesday are drop-in critiques. And what I found I would do when I was getting critique, I was rewriting the whole thing. And so I learned that people want to actually pen, paper, mark, write when they're inspired. Gold Country Writers also has a lot of breakout critique groups, one of which meets in the evening live. We do have Zoom groups too for those that aren't comfortable in person, but this one is live on the first Wednesday of the month in the evening for people whose daytimes are hard, and it is roundtable pizza at the banquet room. And it is one of the best groups of critiquers I have ever worked with. And they work with people who are beta writers and they work with people who are all the way, advanced. And there's many different genres in Gold Country Writers for the Breakout Critique Group. There's a science fiction group that Phyllis and I are in. There's a mystery writer group, which I am in, and we are looking for another member. There's a memoir group. Anything that you write, there is a Breakout Critique Group for. And Gold Country Writers is like $42 for the year. So for $4 a month or something like that, you get access to a lot of good stuff. The other thing to know about me is that I read Slush Pile, so a first reader for the world's oldest science fiction magazine, Amazing Stories. And that is how I became an editor, because it taught me what got stories rejected. And so basically, a story comes in unsolicited, which means the editor didn't come to, hey, Famous Mojo, would you please write a story with us so we can have your name in big letters and sell lots of copies? But you are Jane Doe, who wants to get her first story ever published. So you go through the regular submission process. You end up in a slush pile of about 100 manuscripts a day on some of them. I get 100 manuscripts a week. That's what my duty is. And I only pass up one to the assistant editor, who is under the associate editor, who is under the editor-in-chief. So I learned very quickly about what doesn't work, and that the more you write, the better writer you are, because I've seen writers mature and they submit, resubmit, different pieces of work. So I have been editing and critiquing for over a couple decades, and I will tell you that your inner editor is your worst enemy. I literally take off my hat when I am free writing, and you will see me do that. Phyllis has seen me do that. When we do the exercise, I'll be writing too, because I got this thing I got to get to my agent, which sounds so nice. But I have to stop thinking about, is it any good? I have to not critique word by word, sentence by sentence. I have to let the creative process happen and then put my editor hat back on and go through and mark up and make the changes. So none of you have editor hats. He's wearing a hat, but I'll let you get away with it. None of you during this class should have your editor hat on. Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. Your goal is 50K in 9 weeks. It does not say 50,000 of good words. Yes, Phyllis?
I think I may add on to that from my experience as a special ed teacher, because parts of our brain that thinks big, and that's in our creative. And so when we're writing creatively,
it's a different part of the brain.
It's a different part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And we do, automatically go skip over a little bit and do edit, but then you have to do this and go over to the other part of your brain and do the picky stuff.
And that's a different run through. And I am going to be teaching a class. I have a draft done. Now what? They wouldn't let me say now what the hell, but that's the, okay.
I was just going to say when I used to write, my process is I would write, and then the next morning to get me going, that's when I would do my editing.
And I do it the other way around. Why I'm still dreaming and not quite coherent, and I'm sucking down my first cup of coffee, writing is almost like a dream for me. I'm not conscious of what I'm writing at all. And I call it midnight madness, even though it's 6:37 a.m. And then in the afternoon or evening, when I look at it, it's like, oh crap, ooh, oh crap, ooh, because I don't even know what I wrote. But yeah, people work differently. So the way this class is going to work, the biggest gift that this class is going to give you is, besides a bunch of exercises, besides a lot of inspiration, besides the accountability, is that the last hour of every class after this will be set aside strictly for writing based on what you've gotten all excited about to write. So you don't leave, you stay here, a captive writer, and I do one-on-one writing coaching